Welcome everyone to ED&A. We got a pretty busy day ahead of us. As you can see, we have a little bit of extra equipment in the room. We've got going to have all of our hearings done through an interpreter this morning, especially related to one of our later bills. But we want to welcome them to to the ED&A committee, and we will get started. We're going to open up the hearing on the non-germane amendment. I'm sorry, I don't have the number right here. On 425, and I will recognize Senator Rochford to explain the amendment. Here it is, Amendment 579S.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is David Rochford. I represent Senate District 1, and I'm here to introduce non-germane Amendment 2026-0579S to Senate Bill 425. I'm proposing this as a replace-all amendment. This amendment would have New Hampshire join the Multi-State Physician Associate Licensure Compact. I'm just going to speak a few minutes on the merits of that, and then I'll touch on why this is coming as a non-germane amendment rather than a regular bill. This amendment would have PAs join other healthcare providers who enjoy the benefits of a multi-state licensure compact, including physicians, nurses, psychologists, physical therapists, and counselors. Mr. Bartlett from the American Academy of PAs and Mr. David Cuzzy from the Hampshire PAs are going to testify after me on some of the more specifics of that. So if you've got some real specific questions, I'd ask that you save those for them. I did want to make a couple points that I have here. This bill continues the efforts by the legislature, the governor, and OPLC to streamline licensure process in New Hampshire without sacrificing safety. And more important, this really comes down to a healthcare workforce bill. This will do for PAs what physicians and nurses, nurse practitioners enjoy, which is to allow PAs to more easily practice in more than one state, which is important given how we operate in a part of the country that's pretty close together. And I note that Maine is one of 21 states who have joined this compact. Massachusetts is moving forward to do so this year, we hope, and with the goal of making New Hampshire more attractive to PAs, which will mean more qualified healthcare providers in the state. A couple of things that this bill will not do, this amendment will not do. It doesn't change the scope of practice of PAs. Only the state legislature, as you know, in this committee, can do that. The PAs would be required to follow all the laws in New Hampshire regarding PA practicing medicine in our state, and again, others to follow. We'll get into greater detail on what that position looks like. And I want to discuss why we're bringing this up as a non-germane amendment. I understand that we had a bill filing period, we had a late bill filing period, and this gets dropped really late. So the federal government, when it set forth its scoring criteria for the Rural Health Transformation Program, it gave added score weight for states in the PA compact or with legislation pending to join. In its Rural Health Transformation proposal, New Hampshire committed to taking the steps to join the compact. And we've got some folks here from DHHS, so we'll speak to that and the grant and how it affects that. And as you know, the Rural Health Transformation Grant was not necessarily in sync with how we filed our bills or when we filed our bills. I think we filed our bills in September. I went to my first meeting on the Rural Health Transformation Grant in September, and those details were following. So with the blessing of the executive branch and DHHS, I decided to get this in motion now. And the only way to do so is with this non-germane amendment. So I appreciate the indulgence of Senator Carson, Chairman Pearl, the members of the committee for allowing me to bring this forward. And I would note that DHHS is here this morning. I saw them and spoke with them, and they'll be able to answer any questions. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I will leave it to the experts behind me.
All right, thank you, Senator. Appreciate your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael Bartlett and Dave Cuzzy. morning and welcome.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Dave Cuzzy with Prospect Hill Strategies here this morning on behalf of the New Hampshire Society of Physician Associates.
My name is Michael Bartlett. I work for the American Academy of PAs.
Welcome.
So, Chairman Pearl and members of the committee, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. Like I said, I work for the American Academy of PAs. We're the national organization that represents the 190,000 PAs working across the United States. And I am here to give a little bit more information about the PA Compact. It's an interstate occupational licensure compact for physician associates that will facilitate interstate practice. It's similar to other compacts that have been adopted by the state of New Hampshire, including the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact, the Nurse Licensure Compact, Physical Therapy Compact, EMS Compact, and the Occupational Therapy Compact. This compact, the PA Compact, has been enacted in 21 states, including Maine and Connecticut, and it is under consideration in 15 additional states this legislative session, including Massachusetts and Rhode Island. The way the compact works, it uses a mutual recognition model of interstate practice. So compact member states agree to recognize valid licenses issued by other member states. And to use a PA, to use the compact, a PA must have a license in good standing in a member state. When a licensee wants to work in another member state, known as the remote state, the licensee obtains a compact privilege from the PA Compact Commission, and this is the interstate body tasked with administering the compact. Some of the benefits the compact has for New Hampshire PAs: it facilitates multi-state practice by reducing the burdens of maintaining multiple licenses. It expands employment opportunities for PAs by authorizing practice in other member states and into new markets. It improves continuity of care when patients or providers have to travel or relocate, and it also supports military spouses. And the PA Compact also has a number of benefits for state regulators. It reduces application processing time, encourages cooperation among states in regulating PA practice, and facilitates cooperation on investigations and disputes. It enhances public safety through a shared data system. It allows states to charge a fee for a compact privilege as well as for licensure renewal. And it also preserves the current state-based system of licensure. As was mentioned before, adopting the PA Compact will increase the amount of federal funding that New Hampshire receives under the Rural Health Transformation Program. In its rural health application, New Hampshire committed to joining the PA Compact as part of its strategy to strengthen rural health care. And fulfilling this commitment will help improve PA mobility into rural and underserved areas, making it easier for New Hampshire to recruit and retain providers. Again, it's important to note that the PA Compact does not affect scope of practice. When PAs practice under the compact, they must abide by the laws and regulations of the state they are in. So PAs in New Hampshire practicing under the compact will be required to practice under the laws and regulations of New Hampshire, just as PAs do today. And all the compact does, it streamlines the process for PAs to obtain authorization to practice in other member states without the need to apply separately through each state's licensure process. We recognize that New Hampshire has taken efforts to improve the process for individuals licensed in other states to get licensed in New Hampshire by enacting reciprocity legislation. And while reciprocity and compacts both improve professional mobility, they do differ a little bit in scope and structure. So compacts, they create a formal, uniform, and interstate agreement for specific professions to practice across member states, while reciprocity laws often only allow a single state to independently recognize another state's license. The PA Compact also allows states to share disciplinary data through a centralized system, and this allows state boards to instantly check the disciplinary status of a practitioner. And again, just to note, the PA Compact is optional for PAs, and it can work alongside the current system of state licensure and the reciprocity laws. So overall, the compact will improve access to care and continuity of care. It will increase licensure portability for PAs and support military families, all while maintaining the current system of state licensure. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Dave, you want to add anything before we go to questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm really here, I don't have anything specific to add beyond what Mr. Bartlett added, although, on behalf of the 1,100 or so PAs in the state, plus the students of the 2 PA schools at Franklin Pierce up in Lebanon and at the Mass College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences in Manchester, we appreciate your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions specific to the impact of New Hampshire PAs that you may have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
How many other states have adopted this? I know somebody said it. I don't remember the number.
21.
21, okay. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you both.
Thank you.
Trish Tilley and Dave, I'm sorry, can't quite read the last one. Chorney, sorry. The writing is small. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, and thank you, Chair. For the record, my name is Patricia Tilley. I'm an Associate Commissioner at the Department of Health and Human Services, and with me,
David Chorney. I'm the new Director of Financial Sustainability and Policy for the Governor's Office of New Opportunities in Rural Transformational Health.
go north.
Yes.
There you go.
And I appreciate your flexibility of me bringing my computer up with me this morning. Our building at Brown has had a massive flood, and I don't have a printer, so
Oh, no.
we are making do. So thank you. I have the pleasure this morning to speak on behalf of DHHS, and Dave will talk specifically around his role in Go North in support of Senator Rochefort's Replace All amendment. While you have heard from the experts already about what this compact does, there are 5 significant reasons why the department also supports this notion of a physician's associate compact and appreciates that Senator Rochefort found an opportunity and a way to quickly bring this to a committee. So number one, it expands access to care, especially in rural New Hampshire. So New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services does something called a health professional survey. And that data from that survey suggests that primary care practices concentrations are significantly lower in rural areas. That sort of makes sense. But streamlined contract privileges, we believe, will increase access and continuity of care, especially in those rural areas as patients or providers relocate. And it, while not really altering the scope of practice that you all are in charge of. So it increases care. Without compact membership, we're going to continue to experience the same barriers to telehealth efficiency, for example. New Hampshire-based telehealth providers navigate separate licensing for each state, reducing seamless cross-border care. We're also going to continue to have continuity gaps. Compact membership ensures patients and PA providers can cross state lines during relocation or emergencies, and non-membership risk disrupting that continuity of care. So number 2, it aligns with New Hampshire workforce trends and pipeline activities. We know that PAs are a really important part of our healthcare workforce solution. Again, our data from DHHS from our health profession survey show that the PA workforce grew 15% with higher rates of newly trained providers in rural settings. So this is a workforce that's growing, and especially in rural areas, and we really need more of them. And then with the exception of the Dartmouth region, APRNs and PAs collectively provide more than half of the primary care FTEs in rural areas in the state. So again, this is an opportunity that really demonstrate that team-based primary care, where you've got all the different kind of providers, especially in rural areas, depends on these advanced practice clinicians. Making PA licensure portable strengthens this model. Number 3, it speeds recruitment and retention into our shortage areas into the state. You know, the compact specifically supports relocating military families and telehealth-enabled practice, so it speeds that up. And 4, it preserves state authority and patient protection. So New Hampshire continues to retain control of scope of practice and initial licensure. And then 5, Joining is strategically aligned with our CMS Rural Transformation Grant, which is super exciting. As many of you know, New Hampshire's already received over $204 million for year one of this exciting 5-year grant. This is the largest award in New England, not that we're bragging, but it's based on a clear strategy and the policy commitments that we've made collectively under the leadership and guidance of the governor's office to support workforce, telehealth, technology, and innovative ways to sustain healthcare providers in every corner of New Hampshire. So David's going to speak a little bit more directly to this, but joining the PA Compact directly improves New Hampshire's future grant competitiveness. It unlocks additional discretionary funds tied to workforce policy scorecards that reflect these PA modernizations. So I'll let you talk a little bit more.
Thanks, Tricia. So as Tricia mentioned, the Rural Health Transformation Grant, it's a 5-year grant. The first year was $204 million. The way CMS scored the grant is part of states were awarded additional points, which translates into dollars at the end of the day for committing to certain policy actions that are aligned with the CMS strategic goals. Those actions fall into 3 broad categories: healthy lifestyles, expanded scope of practice, and streamlined licensure. So in this one, we're really talking about streamlined licensure. And joining and implement the PA Compact was one of those policy commitments that CMS asked states to commit to, and if the states committed to, they got additional points. The deadline for states to implement that policy is December 31st, 2027. And so the way CMS set up the grant program is the points were awarded in the first grant year, and will be in the second grant year as well. If the state were to not implement the policy by December 31st, 2027, each year CMS recalculates the grant award, and so they would take those points away, and so the future funding amounts would go down. And then, as Tricia also alluded to, the other piece CMS scored the application on is the initiatives that the state put forth to transform rural health. One of those is workforce development, and so increasing the number of primary care providers, increasing access to primary care providers, really developing the workforce, and so increasing the number of physician associates that are practicing in New Hampshire will expand access to primary care and will help us in our outcomes and metrics there, which will have a positive benefit to the state's future award amounts and the health and lifestyle of New Hampshire citizens.
Great. So just to wrap up, we're here as both Go North and DHHS in support of this because it's really a low cost and high impact policy lever, which is, in my experience, the best kind of a New Hampshire thing that doesn't cost a lot, but actually I think will yield something in the end. It will improve access to care, we believe, and really help us with some of those telehealth strategies and get us some additional funding through our 5-year award for Go North. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think you sort of answered a question I was going to ask, but because I was going to ask why the PA compact rather than any other compact, but I guess that it sort of checks off 2 boxes about moving us forward with ease of licensure and primary care physician. Is that kind of?
Yep. For this amendment, there's also the EMS compact that was part of one of the policy commitments the state made, but we'll need additional legislation to do that.
Okay.
And to just run through them quickly for your awareness. The healthy lifestyles one was requiring the presidential fitness test in accordance with the president's executive order and guidance issued by the administration. Nutrition, continuing medical education requirement for licensed providers. Yeah, I've got a cheat sheet, sorry. Expanding pharmacy scope of practice, allowing dental hygienists independent billing, and then wouldn't require legislation, but implementing a Medicaid, Medicare dual special needs plan.
Okay, great. Further questions from the committee? Senator Gannon?
Thank you. Thanks for taking my question. I love getting more of that pie at the 205 million or whatever a year to start out. With the reciprocal license, aren't we as likely to lose people as gain people? A lot of young people are moving south, and are we going to facilitate them leaving to nice warm climates as well as bringing people in?
You know, I don't know that we know the answer to that. I mean, I think what we can always, for me, the real benefit, well, there are lots of benefits to this, but one of them is really telehealth options as well. So that it doesn't matter, you know, in some ways it doesn't matter where someone is located. We certainly want everyone who's young and professional to move to New Hampshire. That's a overall goal. But when we think about rural areas, it allows folks to have some flexibility about where they practice both.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up? You're good. All right. Anybody else?
One quick thing to
Yeah,
add
go ahead.
on that, through the Rural Health Transformation Funds, one of the permissible uses is to use recruit and retain providers. So we could make awards to recruit people to stay in New Hampshire or to come to New Hampshire. And it carries a 5-year commitment to serve in rural areas.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else who wants to testify on 425 on the non-germane amendment? Is she clear there, Ben? Okay, all right, I'm going to close the hearing. And we will open up the hearing on House Bill 1025. And recognize Representative Creighton to introduce. Good morning and welcome to Senate EDNA.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for including all three of my bills back to back. I appreciate the kind consideration by the Honorable Senator.
You're welcome.
So I'm here to introduce House Bill 1025. The purpose of this bill is clearly to clean up language within the department. The department is now the Department of Military Affairs and Veteran Services, previously the New Hampshire National Guard. This bill simply clarifies that language. Subject to any questions, that's the bill.
That may be one of our fastest introductories yet.
You know, be brief, be brilliant, and be gone.
That's right. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir. Nicole?
Sir, this will be really quick too. I echo everything that Representative Creighton just said. For the record, my name is Nicole Bixler. I am the Deputy Adjutant General for the Department of Military Affairs and Veteran Services. And this bill merely cleans up the language. We're trying to clean up the language with a couple of these bills. So subject to your questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none?
Thank
Anybody
you,
else
sir.
wants to testify on House Bill 1025? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. See, we get back on time pretty quick here.
So we should make that one into
All right, we'll open up the hearing on House Bill 1101 and recognize again Representative Creighton. Good morning again.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, I'm Representative Jim Creighton, Hillsborough County District 30. I'm here to introduce House Bill 1101. The purpose of this bill is to expand the governor's council from 4 to 5 members. And the issue is that a council with 4 members, if you have a vote, you can get a tie.
Yeah.
And so they want to break the tie. And it cleans up the language on the exact purpose of the program, which adds initiatives and administer the New Hampshire First for Veterans program. This council will administer a new program, which is going to the House on consent tomorrow. It'll come to you shortly. Collects money via license plates and distributes that money with little bureaucratic craziness. And so this is establishing the council that will administer that new program.
All right. So I see your 5th member. I'm surprised this ever got through with 4. We're very particular in this committee to make sure it's an odd number for the very reason.
It was
you stated.
probably well before your time or
I
my time.
suspect. I see the 5th member is a family member of a veteran or a family member of a currently serving member of the armed forces.
Yeah, actually, they've already got a family member on there. They added a 4th member, which is a veteran, and then they addressed the language, which is the 5th member will be
I
a
see.
family member.
Got it. Got it. I see it now as I read. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Nicole? I see a pattern forming here. Turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
Members of the committee, my name is Nicole Bixler. I'm the Deputy Adjutant General, Department of Military Affairs and Veterans Services. As Representative Creighton talked about, the State Veterans Council currently has 4 members. We're merely trying to establish a 5th member. And this will directly support HB 1415, which Representative Creighton also alluded to, which will come before you soon. It is creating a license plate to honor our veterans, and it will directly support our First for Veterans program. So, and then this State Veterans Council will administer that program and help with distribution of the funds for needed veterans programs. Subject to your questions.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else wants to testify on House Bill 1101? Seeing none? I will take a motion to go into exec. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Let's do this one that we were just on. Do we have a motion? 1101. We have a motion about to pass. Do we have a second? Second. Dan, am I going too fast for you? I'm sorry. All right. I forget I have to. All set? All right. Any discussion on House Bill 1101 with a motion about to pass?
Quick question.
Yes.
Just because my colleague brought it up. Line 6 in the second page.
Yep.
Question me on citizen, the 5th word in. I believe in our constitution, it does mention citizen. The good senator asked me about the word resident versus citizen. I think in another bill that I'm working on, it does use citizen, so I think we're okay. But
Okay.
it's a question of you, if that word is appropriate.
As far as I'm aware, it is.
Okay, good with me then.
All right.
I trust in you.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consent has been moved. All in favor? Aye. Senator Reardon, would you like to take this out? Thank you. Let's back up one and we'll do House Bill 1025. Do we have a motion?
Ought to pass.
Ought to pass. That motion has been moved by Senator McGue, seconded by Senator Reardon. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Second.
Consent is moved. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I will take this one out. We all set on the PA compact? You guys ready to move on it?
Sure.
All right. We'll do,
I'll move it.
Senator McGue moves ought to pass on the amendment.
2026.
Well, on Senate Bill 425, and then he wants, and I'll second, and he wants to offer amendment 0579S, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Moved by Senator McGue and seconded by Senator Reardon. Discussion on the amendment.
In particular, this actually is quite a good compact in that a couple of things on like page 5. Nothing in this compact authorizes a participating state to impose discipline against the PA's compact privilege for the individuals practiced in another state. So it confines the adverse actions to the state, to that particular remote state. So unlike some other compacts we reviewed, there's no overreach from one state to another. So I think it's particularly well written.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the amendment, Senator McGue has moved ought to pass as amended. Senator Reardon seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Consent has been moved. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Senator Reardon, would you like to take this one up? I'll take a motion to come out of exec. Do we have a second? I'll second.
Sure.
All in favor? Aye. Right back on time. And with that, we'll open the hearing on House Bill 1152, and I will recognize Representative Creighton to introduce.
Thank you, sir. Again, my name is Representative Jim Creighton, Hillsborough County District 30, here to introduce House Bill 1152. This bill clarifies that the amount of money that's received through donations to the department can be used for their intended purposes. Today, at the end of the year, it's lapsing. So what happens is if you donate $100 to the department for veterans, the state gets that at the end of the year. And what this does, it makes it non-lapsing, so that if you have the intended purpose of supporting veterans, that money is held year to year to be used for veterans. Subject to your questions, that's what this bill does.
Do we know how much money actually has ever lapsed? I'm putting on my finance hat for a second because this doesn't have an FN, but I'm kind of curious.
I would defer to the department for that number,
All right. I put the question out there. We'll see if somebody can answer it.
please.
All right. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none?
Thank
Thank you
you,
for your
sir.
testimony. Nicole, like this, these could have been the same 3 sign-up sheets for all bills.
Good morning again. Nicole Bixler, Deputy Adjutant General for the Department of Military Affairs and Veteran Services. So this, the question that you had for Representative Creighton, how much money has lapsed? We have not had any money lapse, but the way that we have dealt with this in the past, which I don't think is a good way to go forward, especially with the New Hampshire First for Veterans program, the way that we've been dealing with this is, for instance, the scoreboard at the field in Pembroke was donated to us, and the money was donated, and we said, well, rather than doing that, can you donate the board itself? Because by the time you donate the money and we go and appropriate the scoreboard, the money will lapse.
Yeah.
So that's what we've had to do in the past, and we would like to be able to use our money for the money that's donated for other programs as well, which won't be easily done in this manner. So this would provide that the money that's donated would be non-lapsing and continually appropriated. With those words added, that will help us tremendously. Subject to your questions.
So there'll be no financial impact to the general fund or past general fund dollars.
No, sir.
Nothing has ever lapsed. All right, that's the answer.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions from the committee? Seeing none? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 1152? Seeing none, we will close the hearing. I'll take a motion to go into exec.
So moved. So moved.
Moved to in a second. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. For the benefit of Senator Altshuler, we just heard House Bill 1152, and I'm going to exec it. But I'll give you a moment to read, and if you have any questions of us before we exec it. There was no amendments, a pretty straightforward bill. But you are here for the exec session, and you did not catch the hearing, so I
I
want to make
did not.
sure.
I was introducing my last prime bill
That's fair.
over in HHS.
So for your benefit, this simply will make currently lapsing fund into a non-lapsing fund for keeping donations to the veterans.
Then the fun. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
So that's
yes.
what the bill does.
Yes.
Do we have a motion on House Bill 1152? Senator Reardon moves out to pass. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator McGee. Discussion from the committee. Makes sense. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent has been moved. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Senator Reardon, would you like to take this one out? We have 6 minutes until our next hearing can start, if I'm reading my calendar correctly. You agree, Ben? 9:40 is our next one. Is there any other bills that you want to look at?
Are they on consent?
Oops. You should have a list of bills that Ben provided. I assume everybody got this, right? Okay. I have a list of bills. All we have left for FN bills to exec is 470, which is the expungement from Senator Rochford's bill. He is still working on language. And then Senate Bill 640, which is my AI bill, which I'm still working on language. So those two are not ready to go yet. Senate Bill 425, we've already done. And 570 is the final Senate bill that we have, and they've asked me upstairs to hold on to that until after the Legislative Ethics Committee meets in early March. So we will hold. I don't believe, do we have any other bills we can do? 425 is the PA conflict. That's it?
Yeah, I'm looking right at it, yeah. OTP.
All right, I'll take a motion to come out of exec.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We will be in recess for 4 minutes until we start the next hearing at 9:40. All right, being 9:40, we will open the hearing on House Bill 392 and recognize Representative Belcher to introduce. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Senate EDNA. Please, yeah, give them to the aides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm happy to introduce HB 392 as amended this morning. And I would just like to make sure everyone does have the amended version because apparently the original version had been placed out earlier, quite a bit different. So the amended version is what we're looking at. For the record, Representative Mike Belcher, Carroll County District 4 out of Wakefield. I would like to first draw your attention just briefly to what I've just handed out to you, which is Presidential Executive Order 13985, President Trump ending DEI programs and programs on environmental justice. Now, the reason that this is so important is the first thing I want to look at is the fiscal impact on the note on this bill. Now, the amended version identifies a savings of $100,000 being the state portion of the salary for the director. The reality, however, is this is going to represent a much larger savings for the state. Now, we're all aware that sometimes things can happen at the federal level, policies change, and the state is left holding the bag and paying for programs beyond what it was originally intending to. So if you look at the lower part where it talks about roughly $4 million in grants, I believe that the savings would actually represent a much more substantial chunk of that, because according to this EO, which like so many of the presidential executive actions was originally under injunction before then being overturned and allowed to proceed at the appellate level, the grants and other items that are coming to the state for these programs are apt to be terminated if they have not already been terminated. And again, we would be left holding the bag for much of that expense. Now to the meat of the bill and why would we want to dissolve the office for now called Health Access, originally called Health Equity, and the programs for environmental justice. Now, I had the pleasure of serving on the House Investigative Committee on COVID Response Efficacy. We looked at the whole circumstance around what happened with COVID. We were looking for anything that went wrong, what went right, what could be done better next time. We had a lot of findings, and it's resulted in me putting forward various bills to try to make small corrections here and there. And this is one of those, because during our investigation of what occurred, we found a very troubling fact that in the height of COVID, when people were ill, a certain percentage of scarce medical resources were withheld from people who needed them the most and allocated on the basis of sex and skin color. Directly in what should be in contravention, I think is in contravention of federal law, civil rights law, and medical ethics. Those decisions originated with this office as well as the Governor's Council on Diversity and Inclusion, of which at the time the director of this office was also a member of that committee. It was not a good thing for this to have happened. Medical resources should never be distributed on the basis of critical race theory or critical gender theory. They should be attributed on the basis of need, who needs them the most. So based on that, I began doing research and I began looking more into this office and what they do. And what I discovered is that everything this office does, at least from its website, its descriptions, from the people I've talked to, is informed by critical race theory and critical gender theory. It is not according to traditional American law and ethics, but according to what is happening at the federal level right now, being identified as unethical, fraudulent, and harmful to the people. You may be familiar with Elon Musk's DOGE initiative. We had a similar thing here in the state. Elon Musk identified that certain offices and parts of government often function as points of connection for radical NGOs that are operating in a way that is detrimental to the people, despite the fact that they are often receiving federal funds and often functioning as a quasi-governmental arm. And I found that too with this office, that they are a point of contact for numerous radical NGOs that are not functioning to the benefit of the people. So as amended, this bill would dissolve that office as well as the Environmental Justice Program. And the Environmental Justice Program is much smaller, very limited. But the idea behind the Environmental Justice Program and the reason it was suspended at the federal level is that it uses disparate impact analysis in environmental reviews as a way to effectively shut down any new industry or energy or things of that nature on the basis that it's going to have some disproportionate impact on some minority community. Problem is, you can always find that anywhere, so it effectively functions as a veto to shut these projects down. Let's see here. Finally, the amended version, it does have carve-outs for items that are still required by federal law. For instance, language access services and accommodations for disabilities. These things are all preserved and transferred to another location at the discretion of the executive where they think it would be best fit. With that, I am happy to take questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? All right. Seeing
Thank you.
none. Thank you. Representative Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the indulgence of letting me go first so I can run back across. My name is Lucy Weber. I represent Cheshire 2, which is the towns of Walpole and Surrey. I'm here to fervently oppose this bill. It's completely unnecessary. As you all know, this office was completely realigned in House Bill 1, but the office has always been the point that facilitates access to health care for all those people who have barriers to health care, whatever those barriers are. So as an example, one of the barriers to achieving health care is language, and that could be people who do not speak English. It can also be members of the deaf community who need an interpreter in order to adequately communicate their concerns to their healthcare provider and understand what their healthcare provider is advising them. So the need will not go away if you abolish the office, but the office is there and meeting the need. And what I want to point out particularly is that if you're talking about savings, one of the things I know as a member of the Health and Human Services Oversight Board is that preventive medicine, access to preventive medicine and timely ongoing early treatment of whatever is needed saves us huge amounts of Medicaid dollars down the road. So if you're talking about a savings here, it's one that's going to be very penny wise and pound foolish, because people who neglect to get the care they need are much more costly when they show up in the emergency room. And it's better for people, but it also saves money. So with that, I'm going to conclude my testimony. My understanding at our hearing was that the issues in the Department of Environmental Services have already been resolved with a complete contract review, but I'm not an expert in that area, so I'll leave somebody else to address that. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative. Questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Safe travels back.
Thank you.
Representative Horrigan. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Senate EDNA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I'm Representative Timothy Horrigan. I'm from Stratford County District 10, the town of Durham, the home of the University of New Hampshire, and the prime sponsor is not here to be thanked, but another bill which hopefully won't go over to your side of the wall. He mentioned 3 particular critical race theorists, one of whom I'd heard of, 2 of whom I'd never heard of as people who should be banned from the state. And actually, I checked out 2 of the books from the excellent library at UNH. So I thank him for telling me about 2 interesting critical race theorists I'd never heard of before. But and also I thank the sign language interpreters. I'm sure I'm good. My testimony is going to look much better than it sounds. So anyway, so last year during the budget process, I sponsored a floor amendment to HB 2 2025, which would have stopped the proposed renaming of what used to be known as the Office of Health Equity. And that amendment failed. The section of HB 2, which I was trying to stop, ended up becoming section 141:306 of chapter 141 laws of 2025. So amongst other things, the office was renamed the Office of Health Access. And so that was almost a year ago. The name has been changed, other changes have been made, and they've done a good job. I think they should continue doing their job. I think what they do is necessary. You know, it should not be, the office should not be eliminated. The functions should not be downsized. They should not be, they should not be sent to other areas. And certainly they should, in particular, they should still continue supporting refugees. Frankly, me personally, things are so bad, sometimes I get so discouraged, I'm afraid maybe I'm going to have to be a refugee. And actually, I was traveling overseas in Iceland, and actually went and looked up on the Icelandic government's website how to become a refugee, but I decided to come home. But I'm glad I did. So anyway, my argument back then was twofold. I thought the name change was a waste of time and energy, although it happened, and actually probably, it's worked out very well. Second, I said that equity is a good thing, and so is access, but so is access. So, and actually maybe the Office of Health Access more accurately reflects what they're doing. So, and I was kind of discouraged from my leadership because supposedly the relevant section of HB2 was a key part of a carefully crafted bipartisan compromise, and it was. And although the leaders of Democratic Caucus, I'm not really part of the leadership. Representative Weber very much is. She's one. They mostly voted for me. I was part of a long parade of floor amendments, most of which passed on party line votes. Mine, most of which failed. Yeah, most of which failed on party line votes. Mine failed by a little bit more, to 116 to 248, because there were like some Democrats who, were afraid that the Office of Health Equity or Office of Health Access would be eliminated altogether, which of course is what at least your counterparts in the House are trying to do with this bill. So HB 392 back then, it was a retained bill, and then it was eventually used as a vehicle for undoing that particular carefully crafted bipartisan compromise. So I think this makes I think it makes the law just better, not worse. We should stick with what we passed last year. Jeopardizes over 80 million in federal funding. So I think this is a counterproductive bill. I think we should vote it inexpedient to legislate, or anyway, some other motion. Certainly this is not something you should pass. So we should stay with what we did almost a year ago with HB2, or I would prefer to put it back. I would prefer to put things back the way they are, but the way they are is good, and eliminating the Office of Health Access is altogether is a very, very bad idea. So I would urge you not to vote for the bill. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions from the committee? Right, seeing none?
And once again, I thank the sign language interpreter for making me look much better than I sounded. So
They're doing good. All right, we'll bring up Associate Commissioner Landry and John Williams. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. For the record, I am John Williams. I'm the Legislative Director for Health and Human Services. I want to thank you for allowing us to come before you today. And with me and carrying the lion's share of our testimony is...
Good morning, Chairman Pearl and Son Executive Department Administration Committee. My name is Ann Landry, and I'm Associate Commissioner at the Department of Health and Human Services. And I thank you for your time today. So, we are here today to oppose the amended HB 392 and express grave concerns with the impact should this be passed. As you may all know, the vision of DHHS is optimal health and well-being for everyone. And we do this by our mission, which is to join communities and families in providing opportunities to achieve health and independence. By the pure nature of the Office of Health Access, they are our centralized coordinating body that helps us achieve this health access and independence and well-being for all New Hampshire citizens. As you know, we have a vast rural state, And we have a diverse population from homebound seniors in rural areas that are unable to get a ride to the hospital or their appointments. We have those that are deaf and hard of hearing or visually impaired. We have children with mental health struggles. We have everything that every state would need. But what this office does is help to ensure that all of the Department of Health and Human Services programs and services are available to every single person. And while part of this amended bill preserves some of those functions that are federally required or are required by the state, it would disperse them across the department. There would be no centralized, efficient business operating group that would help address these barriers. And I think that that is really critical when we look at this, is that this group, under the astute leadership of the director, is able to take calls from everyone at any time, whether it's someone who has served their time in one of our state or county prisons and is looking to transition back into the community. But in order to do that, they may need behavioral health services, which they can't do without insurance, which they can't get until they're released. And how do you help solve that problem? But our office picks up the phone every time and says, let me connect you to the right people, whether that's in our department or out into the community. Or the number of seniors who, I think of my own parents, and they're lucky to have each other as they go to all their health appointments every single day. Literally, they live there, but they have each other, they have their minds. If they didn't, who would pick up my dad? Who would pick up my mom in a rural area and drive them to the hospital if we weren't available? I think about the children who's struggling to get into a behavioral health counseling appointment. How do you navigate that with a working parent and all of different complexities that are going on? Call the Office of Health Access. They will figure it out for you. They have the time, they have the space, that's their expertise. So I digressed a little bit, but there's three main functions of the Office of Health Access. It's to ensure compliance with communication access and disability, federal and state laws. It's engaging with department leadership and staff, as well as the community, to facilitate access to care for all residents. And it's overseeing the federally funded and mandated state refugee resettlement program. So those are really critical for a Department of Health and Human Services to achieve their mission and vision. We oversee the department's communication access service for staff and any individual receiving services for the department. This ensures that state's deaf and hard of hearing, visually impaired, and ESL citizens have full access to all of our services. That even includes someone who's coming in to interview for a job at the state. Our team, on behalf of the state, will ensure that there is the right accommodations in place to ensure that person can interview for a job. I mean, that's how granular it gets on a day-to-day basis. And then for people out into the community. We also ensure that all of our contractor vendors are compliant with these laws. Like, some of the small nonprofits may not know what they need to do to ensure that anyone they serve has communication access, but we're able to provide that training, that technical assistance to ensure that everyone can get those services. And having that coordinated and centralized in one location is really critical, because if you could imagine picking up the phone and calling 5 different divisions or 5 different agencies, say, how do I get this? But here we have one number, one email, one leader, and a strong team with these expertise. So if we eliminated the Office of Health Access, or the director position, it would greatly jeopardize our department's ability to ensure this coordinated services. As far as the community engagement, we are engaged with all the different community providers, healthcare providers, and other family service centers across the state. We're able to address transportation, communication access, housing, and again, like I said, people re-entering the community after they've served their time. If we eliminated this office, we wouldn't have that ability to help people just so seamlessly and so coordinated. We wouldn't have those relationships. People wouldn't pick up the phone and call the director and know, because he's been out there meeting with people for the past few years. And then, of course, we have the refugee resettlement program. This is it moved to the Department of Health and Human Services in 2012 from the governor's office. That really allowed for better integration with our programs and allowed for more fiduciary stewardship and oversight, if you will. So to remove that from the Office of Health Access or DHHS, it would just live somewhere else and we would have less control over how the dollars are spent, less control on the programs, and it wouldn't really have, it wouldn't save any money. It would only have a negative outcome. So it's really critical that, again, that program is prescribed by the federal government. We respond to the federal government. It's funded by the federal government. We simply are able to more seamlessly integrate those programs. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Great job. Thank you. So folks, we have quite a few of you that want to testify, so I'm just going to ask that you try and keep yourself to a couple, 3 minutes so that I can get everybody in. And, you know, if you have written testimony, certainly please submit it, and you don't have to read it all to us. We can review it as we have time and just kind of highlight the high points. And please try to keep from repeating what everyone else is saying, because there's several of you that I suspect are probably going to have a pretty similar message. So we're going to work our way through this, and I'll just ask that so we can keep the hearing moving along smoothly. Vanessa.
Good morning. Actually, I am not Vanessa, but she was testifying on behalf of the New Hampshire Council on Developmental Disabilities, and so I am going to go ahead and do that instead.
Maybe Isadora then?
I am. So my name is Isadora Rodriguez Legendre, and I serve as the Executive Director at the New Hampshire Council on Developmental Disabilities. The council is a federally funded state agency that advocates for and with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities that may have access issues to community-based health services, transportation, housing. You can imagine the list goes on and on. So our organization has worked with the Office of Health Access in a number of ways. One of those ways is ensuring that people have access to proper communication based on their disability. It is, and I have testimony, so I'm not going to read it, but I think it's really important when you have services that serve communities that have support needs, that there be a single point of contact that is participating on other bodies that can make real-time executive decisions about how best to implement best practices, how best to address the needs of communities that need that access in healthcare. And also we have seen that services, community-based services, are increased and amplified when you have an office that is providing that connection to community-based resources. So another point that I just want to make is that it is really important that we not duplicate. And so kind of splitting up some of the functions of the Office of Health Access in different departments or in different areas of DHHS really does not make sense from an efficiency or economic standpoint, because you're actually potentially duplicating services where now they're centralized, and actually helps more and saves more money because you are able to provide the same resources throughout the DHHS system in the same way. The other thing is that, and I mentioned the governor's COSH report that does state that it is more efficient and less duplicative to have centralized services in DHHS. And I'm happy to take any questions. I'm sure other folks with lived experience will have more to share.
Questions from the committee? Senator Altshuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. Could you, the second to last paragraph of your testimony, you say that the bill language itself notes there is no clear calculation or understanding of what the financial impact of lost federal funds will be if this goes. So are you talking about
where we do matching, or
Yes.
just strictly federally supported programs? And just
So-
could you just give us a little bit more?
Yeah, so the bill says that there will be a savings of $100,000 because of the elimination of a director position. However, the oversight and management of federal grants and matching funding that support different initiatives that are required federally is unknown. You don't so for example, and I cite the refugee resettlement program because it is a federal program. If that were to be contracted out, it would actually cost more money to have not only DHS as kind of managing that contract, but then you have consultants who are charging much more than you get, when you hire your own team and have it in-house.
Further
Thank you.
question? All right, seeing none, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your testimony. Louis Esposito.
I think he's in another hearing.
He's in another hearing? All right, we'll skip over. I'll try and come back. Henry Harris.
Hi, thank you.
Good morning and welcome.
I will submit a written statement, but I promise I will not read it. And piggybacking on a lot of the comments that were said, I think I can skip ahead. My name is Henry Harris. I'm the managing director for the International Institute of New England here in Manchester. We resettle refugees. All our clients are legally here. Through federal contracts, we serve them through all kinds of programs like job training and placement, access to schools, health services, language classes, and other supports designed to help families thrive and help our communities grow and workforce and economic development. In short, they pay taxes. I'm not sure I understand why this bill needs to be presented. The Office of Health Access is contracted by federal government to provide state guidance and oversight to programs like mine. The director and his staff are available, and the resources that they have are available to me whenever needed. And they help us make sure that we meet these federal requirements, which are very heavy with compliance things. So if you get it wrong, it could really impact the state's ability to attract more income. The office currently, it's been, for the years that I've been here, over 5, that's been excellent, very efficient. My colleagues around the communication-wise, they're able to address issues that come up almost in real time for me. They answer the phone, they help us process whatever is going on. And that's huge because my colleagues around the country wish they had this relationship with their states. They do not. In some cases, it takes days, even weeks, for them to respond to a crisis. They pick up usually on the second ring. Programmatically, I just want to highlight some big things. Federal audits, state program reviews have all been exemplary. Producing no areas of concern, major corrective actions required. This is proof this department does what it's supposed to do. It works hard, it's successful in how it operates. Proposing a breakup of this department will not only burden and strain other DHHS departments, it will create more bureaucracy. And we really won't save the state any money. It will become confusing, as you've heard testimony about. The do more with less approach is really not a sustainable plan for the future, and will impact the quality of the work being done currently, and it could also reduce future funding opportunities for the state. So I'm in obviously opposition to this bill.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. Any questions from the committee? I guess I would have one.
Sure.
So basically your statement is that you're still going to need these services. If this office isn't there, some other office is going to have to pick up, and you may have to call 2 or 3 different offices to get the same answers that you currently do under the one office now.
Yes.
Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, and I think the framers of this bill, I think, are looking at it like it's already a done deal. It's not. There's lots of things that are, the program is still up and running. We are still receiving folks currently. even with this administration. So the chances of this getting dumped on another department that overlap maybe, but they're not gonna have a full concept of the health and they'll look at it through a lens very narrow to what they do.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Thanks
Thank you for the opportunity.
Amy Moore.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome.
My name is Amy Moore, and I apologize. I'm on my phone. I had a fight with my printer this morning, and I lost.
Seems to be a printer issue kind of.
I swear. So my name is Amy Moore. I'm the Vice President of External Relations at Essentia Care Alliance, and Henry just covered a lot of what I was going to cover, so I'm going to save time here. I am submitting my testimony. But Essentia has been around for over 150 years. We are a mission-driven nonprofit, and we do services throughout New Hampshire. And as Henry said, this office is one that many of our programs have worked with for a long time. I know that Representative Belcher cited waste. I can tell you, and DOGE, this is one of those offices. I worked with DHHS for 18 years, and this is one of those offices that we can call, as Henry said, in an instant and get the help that we need. I also, prior to this role at Essentia, I oversaw our in-home care programs, which are serving people that are extremely vulnerable throughout the state who couldn't get here for a hearing like this. And this is exactly why this office exists, right? Is to make sure that these folks are taken care of and that they have access. One of the things that I did want to bring up that wasn't necessarily brought up was that the oversight that this office provides is especially important for DHHS staff who deal with some of the most sensitive, time-critical work, such as Bureau of Elderly and Adult Services, which I worked very closely with for 18 years, and the Division of Children, Youth, and Families. So those teams, if they're conducting child investigations or elder abuse and neglect, those are urgent safety concerns. And if there is an access barrier, that can be life or death. As I said, 18 years of working with this department, I've never had an issue. They are there when we need them. I just feel like some of these bills that are coming up, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, and the people that are getting hurt the most are the most vulnerable in our state. There's just no need for this. It's a really lean, critical office. So I will submit my testimony online, but if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm board president for the Home Care Hospice Palliative Care Alliance, and we work with those same folks throughout the state that really need to make sure that they have access and oversight.
All right, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Kathy Brunette, did you want to testify? Okay. Some of you folks didn't check off the speaking box, so I'm trying to work my way through here. And if I miss anybody, I'll give an opportunity at the end.
Thank you. Could you check to make sure Clement Kagugu is on that list? He indicated he signed in, but he hasn't been called.
Oh, yeah, he did not. I will call him next. He didn't
Okay.
check he wanted to speak either, so I'm trying to catch some
okay.
of these.
Sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
Just rookie mistakes.
That's okay.
I guess before I begin my comments, I just want to share, I'm here on behalf of myself. My name is Kathy Brunette. I'm from Durham, New Hampshire. It's always a fascinating process to respond to bills in progress. This bill had no rationale listed, and the rationale seems to have changed a little bit from last year. As I said, I'm from Durham. I'm testifying as a private citizen on HB 392 and specifically about the proposal to eliminate the Office of Health Access, which includes the state refugee program. I'm a volunteer with Overcomers Refugee Services, and I have friends, immigrants, refugees who have received services from BCNH, Essentia, and International Institute of New England, which are the four kind of primary refugee service organizations in the state who receive federal contracted money that is managed through the refugee office that's part of the Office of Health Access.
The testimony from the prime sponsor, Representative Belcher, 1 year ago at the House hearing, which I watched last night, spoke of Marxist ideology generated by Ivy League schools as the reason behind the creation of the state's Office of Health Equity. And he described the office as the result of discriminatory, punitive, divisive policy. However, he provided no actual evidence of real harm that's been caused by the office, only theoretical harm in connection with the COVID vaccine situation. And I am here to counter that frightening narrative as it relates to the resettlement office in the Office of Health Access. Resettlement work is not an academic theory. It's not a campus debate. It's not a culture war. It's about human beings who are trying to rebuild their lives. In the case of refugees who arrive through the U.S. Refugee Resettlement Program, the official program, which is actually now on pause, many have waited in refugee camps 15 to 20 years before they have been offered. Somebody came to them and said, would you like to be settled in the U.S. and live outside of this camp? They arrive with nothing. They do not get to choose which country or which state to settle in. They usually find out on the plane or just before they leave that they're coming perhaps to New Hampshire, which they've never heard of. They are on a legal path to citizenship. All of the refugees and immigrants that are serviced by federally funded contracts managed by the Refugee Office in New Hampshire are here with legal status. Some are coming as through the refugee program. Some are humanitarian parole situations like Ukraine. Some of them are asylum seekers who have been granted asylum and they are fleeing their countries. They cannot go back to their countries. Just as a personal example, I have a young friend named Donna. I met her in 2018 while I was volunteering with Accentria. And shortly after she arrived with her parents and her 5 siblings. I stayed her friend even though my volunteer work had ended. Donna learned English. She attended community college. She earned her RN degree, and she is now a nurse in Nashua. Her family owns a home. They're paying taxes. They're active in their church. They built a community. That is what refugee resettlement can produce. I'm familiar with the work of the State Refugee Office through my volunteer work at Overcomers, specifically in connection with the federal funding that helps to support Overcomers and other agencies. That work of the office ensures that the contract work, basically their contracting to these agencies, is delivered responsibly and in compliance with federal law. It also helps the agencies manage complex cases and coordinate benefits and healthcare access. This proposal to close the office eliminates structure, coordination, and accountability. I think it's really important also to recognize that in addition to HB 392, HB 1706 is being considered by the House. And Republican Representative Belcher is also a sponsor on that.
Let's just stick to this bill.
Okay. Well, I bring that up because that bill actually calls for the complete elimination of the Refugee Office and any kind of funding coming into the state managed by the state or any other agency, whether it's state or nonprofit. So the motives that this is some Marxist ideology driving this is a little fuzzy. I just want to close by saying that this is a pretty fragile moment for refugees. They are living in fear, even though they have legal status. There are many, many confusing and really harmful policies going on. Any kind of action to eliminate this office is just a piling on by the state of New Hampshire. So the choice is yours, whether to preserve or weaken the system that allows lawful residents to access basic services while they work, study, and build stable lives. And so, as you can tell, I strongly oppose this bill. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Clement, we'll bring you up next. I'm just going to remind folks, let's please try to stick to this bill. I know there's a lot that goes on that you're all very passionate about, but let's keep our testimony to the bill we have in front of us today, okay? Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and member of the committee. My name is Clement Kigugu. I came today to United States as asylum seeker in 2006 from Rwanda. I fled because of the political view put my life at risk. I am now a US citizen. I have lived in Concord for 19 years. I am a husband, a father of 6 children, a taxpayer, and the executive director of Overcomers Refugee Services. I want to begin with something very important. Refugees do not leave their country because they want to. They fled because of war, violence, and persecution. In some cases, like mine, they arrive in the US and apply for asylum. In other cases, they came through humanitarian parole program or are here with temporary protection status. Many of our clients came to the US through the US Refugee Resettlement Program. They have spent 15 to 20 years in a refugee camp before they resettle. Refugees are different from immigrants who may have the option to return home. For refugee, going back can often mean death. When I arrived in the US, I finally felt safe. I slept without fear. My 6 children were able to start school. Today, 4 of them have graduated and are working. 2 are in college. None of us are on government assistance. We work, we pay tax, we contribute. And my story is not unique. Many refugees are living productive lives and they contribute to New Hampshire. After working for our resettlement agency, Accentria, I saw many needs in our refugee community. That's why I founded Overcomers Refugee Services. Our mission is simple: help refugees succeed so they can contribute fully to New Hampshire. But we cannot do this by our own. The Office of Health Access plays a critical coordinating role. It ensures that federal refugees funds are properly managed to provide structure, accountability, and guidance. It helps nonprofit, state agencies, and community partners work together instead of duplicate services or leaving family behind. If the office is eliminated, it will not reduce the need. It will create confusion. It will weaken coordination. It will disrupt how federal funds are used to support workforce integration and self-sufficiency. It will remove institutional knowledge that help the system function smoothly. At this moment, many refugee families are already afraid. Changes in federal policies and negative public language have created fear. Some families are reliving trauma. They thought they had escaped. Children ask their parents, "Are we safe?" Eliminating the very office that provides stability and coordination will only increase fear and instability. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for stability, the kind of stability that allows family to work hard, become independent, and give back. When you support strong coordination through the Office of Health and Access, you are supporting self-sufficiency, accountability, and economic contribution. For this reason, I respectfully ask you to oppose HB 392 FN. Thank you for your time and for considering human impact behind this decision. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your testimony. Great job. Any questions from the committee?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Thank you. Laura Toronto?
She's actually had to leave and will be back in just a few minutes.
Okay, I'll skip over her. Sam Hawkins. Do we have Sam from NAMI? Oh, he's coming up. Sorry, he's behind the TV. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify today. For the record, my name is Sam Hawkins. I'm here today representing NAMI New Hampshire, National Alliance on Mental Illness, in opposition to House Bill 392. I just want to open up by expressing recognition and gratitude of the great work the state has done over the past several years to really improve access and quality to mental health services. But I also want to acknowledge that there's a lot of work for us left to do, which I think we all recognize. But we do have pretty grave concerns that House Bill 392, by dissolving the office, would really jeopardize that progress we've worked so hard to achieve. You've heard a lot about the services provided by the office, so I won't go into that. But I do just want to acknowledge that as we are working towards future progress, we are actively carrying out certified community behavioral health clinic implementation. Rural Health Transformation Program implementation is in progress. The office's voice is really incredibly important. They serve not only as technical assistance and support to the department and the contracted entities it works with to provide these services, but it really works as a strategic leader to improve collaboration and cross-coordination within the department in these efforts. We are very concerned that dissolving this office and splintering some of its remaining functions into other aspects of the department would increase redundancy and administrative burden, decrease efficiency, and really worsen outcomes for Granite State individuals and family. So as such, we do strongly encourage the committee to please oppose House Bill 392, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Deborah Schachter? Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you so much. My name is Deborah Schachter, and I'm here on behalf of New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. The Charitable Foundation provides millions of dollars annually in grants to support efforts to promote health and well-being of New Hampshire residents. And we are here this morning in opposition to the bill. The foundation works closely with state government to ensure efficient and effective use of both public dollars and private dollars and resources. And for example, we've been a very close partner with DHHS over many years, and along with many community health providers, in addressing the opioid crisis and seeking to improve access to services to reduce substance use disorders and overdose deaths. And in that capacity, among others, we've seen how the Office of Health Access has used its expertise and focused efforts to provide crucial training and other services for community organizations, and also, as you've heard, to coordinate across departments, across the department's own functions to make sure that all constituents can access services. We want to echo some of the concerns you've heard about how eliminating the office will diffuse responsibility for those important functions. Those are, many of which, as you've also heard, are required by federal law, and that would impair the effectiveness of service delivery and cause serious harm. We note with some concern, among other things, that the bill is silent when it lists exceptions. It's silent on the need to maintain a focus on access to mental and behavioral health services. And that is an area where the Office of Health Access has been especially helpful and critical in coordinating joint initiatives to promote accessible prevention, outreach, and crisis response. especially at a time when DHHS is stretched pretty thin. We're quite concerned that removing the locus of accountability for this work will adversely impact people's ability to access the services they need, and that will have not only an adverse, physical and mental series of health consequences, but also really negatively impact financial and economic, economically on individuals and communities alike. The office is doing its job. It's doing it well, provided training, tools, guidance to many of our grantees and to vendors and state personnel. And so we really urge you to ITL this bill. We don't want to see the dissolution of the office imperil existing coordination and momentum around so many of these assistive technologies, communications best practices, for those with disabilities and others who need technical assistance to be able to ensure that residents can seek care, and also that we don't inadvertently put the state or partners at risk of litigation for noncompliance with federal requirements. And with that, I'll submit my written testimony, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you. Did Laura come back? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Pleased to be here this morning. Is it okay with you if I stand? It works a little better.
Yes.
And I have a document to distribute to the committee. I'm Laura Anna Toronto. I'm here representing Greater Nashua Mental Health. I'm a deaf therapist working in the deaf services team. We in deaf services strongly oppose this bill for specific reasons. We work statewide, meeting with deaf, hard of hearing, deaf blind, deaf people with disabilities across the state. And we do statewide travel, working in different venues, in different settings. We see a lot of language barriers, a significant amount, particularly for people who are ASL users who don't understand written English. It's a vital language barrier to be considered. Sometimes individuals need tactile interpreting if we're talking about someone deafblind. It's hard for me to imagine what their life experience is like, but I know that we serve that population, and we are very dependent on the Office for Health Access for that collaboration, working with DHS, working with Office of Health Access to make sure that transparent, effective accommodations are provided across this population. And when we have difficulty, we rely on the Office of Health Access to help us get understanding and compliance across the entire system for this population. It is, in fact, horrific to imagine the impact of losing the Office of Health Access for the residents, the entire residents of the state of New Hampshire. I can give you a specific example. One individual that I worked with, well, there are many, but who live in rural areas, and to get accommodations, to get them the kind of services they needed from DHHS is very difficult sometimes, particularly in the rural settings. And these are individuals who don't know how to provide the accommodation to those communities, to, again, this population that I've mentioned before. And I've personally seen, as a deaf person, working with deaf people and this cross range of people who are deaf, the difficulty with the expectation that they function in written English, which they cannot do effectively, and they require the use of competent American Sign Language access, be it direct or through interpreters. It's a challenge. And by having that collaboration with OHA lets us get this done. It applies, of course, across the population of people with other disabilities and the need for Medicaid access, but ASL literacy is very different than English literacy, and it creates significant language barriers. We have a population of people who have what we call language deprivation. These are individuals that were not provided access to language early enough in their developmental periods to get fluency in really any language. So I want to just address too what happens at the local level, because OHA often will provide the local offices with the education that they need across the state to educate staff and how they can work effectively with the population that we serve. Those accommodations are so critical. Addressing accessibility. We've talked earlier about the impact of preventive care. We've talked about what happens in emergency rooms, and that we know that increased utilization of the emergency room situation is much more expensive than the cost-effective opportunities to provide care earlier on in the treatment process. The disparity is significant. I want you to see the degree to which I describe. So there's a sign for disparity, but in this case, we're talking about really disparity to the degree that we don't really have significant language to describe that. So also trust in the process will be diminished. And then this need for accessibility across departments of HHS would be so much more difficult without OHA. The impact is ineffective services, inconsistent services, lack of effective training, the delay in providing accommodations so that people get the appropriate services they need, and the impact of that delay. And I think increase the potential of civil rights complaints as well. So the long-term costs to the state will be significant, and we will see a notable increase in overall cost. So I implore you, please support the continued existence of the Office of Health Access. I thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you for your testimony. Bianca? Is Bianca here? No? Okay. Heidi Tremarco. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Heidi Tremarco from the Conservation Law Foundation. CLF is a nonprofit environmental organization, and our mission is to protect the environment for all people in New England and here in New Hampshire. We're here to oppose the bill, HB 392. Specifically, I'm just going to speak to the environmental justice provision, which we haven't heard about today, and I'll try to keep it quick. It is a short provision of the bill. But our main opposition is that by prohibiting DES from using this phrase, environmental justice, that is not going to create any improvements for people in New Hampshire, and it's not really going to create any change. Not using a phrase isn't going to bring about any real results. I'd like to speak about what environmental justice is. I've been practicing environmental law for about 20 years, and I practice on our EJ team, and I practice in environmental justice. As a body of law, EJ recognizes that two things. First is that certain communities bear a disproportionate burden of environmental impacts. And this is often not captured by our traditional permitting system. So when you can imagine this by if you are permitting one facility, the permit process might not look at the area and what other impacts are pre-existing in that area. So are there higher rates of asthma? Is there a landfill nearby? What are the trucking conditions? And so EJ looks at the conditions on the ground and to see if any communities are bearing a disproportionate risk or an unfair burden. EJ also asks that everybody gets to participate in environmental legal process fairly, so in permitting fairly, and that the outcomes are fair across the board. And so that's what we're talking about, is fairness and access to environmental decision making. What environmental justice is not is a veto. I've only heard that said one time before, and that was at the hearing for this bill last year. Environmental justice simply is not a veto system. It doesn't function that way, And it certainly doesn't function that way through the Department of Environmental Services. In New Hampshire, environmental justice issues might look like an urban community in Nashua or Manchester that has a lot of facilities nearby or a lot of conditions on the ground. But more often than not, what it looks like are our rural communities that are far from resources and that are not close to the decision-making centers in the state, and might want to be more involved in environmental decision-making or might want to have more access to resources in New Hampshire. And so the issues in New Hampshire are real. They impact a lot of people in our state, most often our rural communities in the North Country. And New Hampshire people in communities want to have a larger voice in decisions that are impacting their communities. And so they want transparency and fairness, and they want to be able to participate in the process. And that is what environmental justice would help advance. In short, removing the phrase environmental justice won't do anything. It won't advance these issues, but it will harm people and communities who are trying to become more involved and more informed and trying to impact and improve their own communities. So I urge the committee to oppose the bill and to vote ITL.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Rebecca? I was going to try the last name, but I was
Oh, it's a
afraid I
pretty
would.
Polish one.
Well,
You can try it.
I would call it Wojciechowski.
Wojciechowski.
Wojciechowski,
Yeah.
all right.
Pretty good.
Of course, that's why I didn't try.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. I have written testimony that's extensive, but I'm not going to read it.
Thank you.
Instead, for the record, my name is Rebecca Wojciechowski. I'm representing New Futures. New Futures is a nonpartisan, nonprofit advocacy organization that supports solving problems through policy change. And we are here today in strong opposition of HB 392. But really what I want to do is share one story that an advocate sent me and it asked me to share on her behalf. This is from Tracy from Canton, and this is about her father who's a veteran. She said she stands in strong opposition of this bill because staff at this office, including deaf professionals who serve as vital role models, supported my father in obtaining assistive communication access for his profound hearing loss. They collaborated across state systems to educate staff at veterans' homes, enabling veterans to use speech-to-text systems to communicate with family and friends. Without access to such technology, individuals who are deaf often suffer from isolation and depression. I am forever grateful to the Office of Health Access for providing the expertise that allowed my father to communicate with his medical providers, faculty, staff, and most importantly, our family. So when we think about the deep and vast positive impact that the Office of Health Access has, we have to think about the negative consequences that could happen from dissolving this important and critical service for many New Hampshire residents. So on behalf of New Futures and our advocate, we urge you to oppose HB 392. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for your testimony. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right, seeing none. Mackenzie? Ben, can you bring me the other sheet, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ben. Good morning,
morning,
Chairman
welcome.
Pearl. Thank you for having me. Good morning. My name is Mackenzie Nicholson. I'm the co-senior director of Moms Rising in New Hampshire, a grassroots organization representing thousands of families and their moms across the Granite State. So I want to share with you my experience at Moms Rising. We hear from families every day about their struggles trying to navigate healthcare, behavioral health services, early intervention and support programs. And for them, access is not an abstract idea. It means being able to understand their provider, make sure their children can get the support that they need and that they're recognized, and make sure that they can reach the support services they need when they need them. But this bill moves us away from that coordinated approach and towards a more fragmented system that relies on doing the bare minimum, rather than making sure that families are truly supported. From what we see in our work, families do best when systems are designed to work together. And right now, the Office of Health Access, like you've heard from so many others, is a vital piece of DHHS where providers and community partners stay aligned so that services are accessible and improving over time. But removing that central barrier weakens that and makes it easier for families to fall through the crack. We know that access works best when that is built into the system and not scattered across it. And we know that families don't experience government or life in silos. A mom seeking postpartum care may also need behavioral health support, may need language access, transportation assistance, and help navigating Medicaid. We've seen through our members in New Hampshire how our state has struggled to connect the dots to connect support programs, even when a family clearly qualifies. A mom might be eligible for SNAP, but then get stuck in the process because there's no one to help her coordinate through the process. And we know that when the Office of Health Access had more capacity and investment, we heard fewer stories like this because more than likely families were getting the help they needed the first time. And when those barriers exist, they're enough to discourage families from seeking the care or support that they need at all. And communication is often that first barrier they face. Parents who are deaf or hard of hearing, who speak languages other than English, or who rely on assistive technologies deserve to have systems designed with them in mind. When providers don't have that clear guidance or support, when providers have a clear understanding of guidance and support, families are more likely to understand their care, follow through with their own care. And when they don't, they're more likely to miss appointments, have confusion about their care, delay treatments. All of that becomes more common, and this contributes to the negative health impacts that some of my colleagues were talking about for families. We're also really deeply concerned about what this bill signals for behavioral health supports across New Hampshire. Among families experiencing rising postpartum mental health challenges, substance abuse crises, rising stress, even among children, we're seeing an increased need for behavioral health support services, and they're not isolated issues. They intersect with language access, with transportation, insurance, and trust in the system. But without that coordinated support, access to behavioral health care becomes uneven and even harder to sustain. The bill only keeps the services required by federal law, but families need and deserve more than the bare minimum. New Hampshire often prides itself on being one of the best places to live and work and raise a family. And living up to that promise means that we need to design systems that reach the families before a crisis, not after. Meeting the minimum sets a floor, but building that strong access creates a bridge. When we stop identifying barriers and improving access and improving how agencies work together, the gaps grow wider. Those gaps show up in maternal health outcomes, in early childhood services, disability supports, and environmental health risks that affect our families and children for generations. At Moms Rising, we believe that every family deserves the fair chance to access that support that they need, regardless of their language, disability, income, geography, or circumstance. Access should not access should not depend on luck or persistence. It should be built into the system by design. And so for those reasons, we respectfully urge the committee to oppose House Bill 392, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Senator Altshuler with a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Nichols, for taking my question. I'm particularly struck by, in your testimony, access works best when it is built into the system and not scattered across it, and that access should not depend on luck or persistence. If this bill were to pass and these services do become scattered across different agencies and in different places within those agencies, even given what you're hearing now from your constituents calling in and looking for assistance with Moms Rising, do you think that this bill sets up these assistance programs to fail because people will not be able to access them, and then will be in a position for detractors to say, look, no one's using it, when it's been made almost impossible to find or access?
Thank you for the question, Senator Altshuler.
Is that where you're going with this?
Yes, I think so. And, important to just note the experience of the mom at the other end of this policy. I don't know if you all have tried navigating any state support, but I have. And in my experience,
this was many years ago, wasn't a lot of coordination. Life is already so challenging for moms who are trying to piecemeal everything together, survive. Any barrier thrown in their way is enough to just call it quits because they're just dealing with one trauma life crises after another. And so, yes, I agree that moms would give up and then this program would look underutilized. I think it's a really beneficial program that helps families access support services across the state, and I strongly urge you to oppose it. Thank you.
Further questions? All right. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. I got about 3 more, guys, so we just got to get through these relatively quick. I got 2 more hearings to do. So, Dillis, not sure if I got that name right. Dylas? No?
Dylan?
D-Y-L-A-S?
Dylan?
Or D-Y-L-A-N maybe? Dylan? All right, we got a winner. Sorry. I can't, it's hard, folks. I can't see you behind the screen there, so I apologize. Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Dylan Hoey, and I am the director of the New Hampshire Alliance of Immigrants and Refugees, the only organization in New Hampshire that advocates exclusively on behalf or for immigrant and refugee communities. We oppose HB 392, which would dissolve the Office of Health Access. To be clear, health equity is an issue that transcends politics, tackling childhood lead poisoning, ensuring communities have access to safe drinking water. Before this era of political polarization, these issues enjoyed near universal bipartisan support. To underscore the consensus around these functions, I would like to note that nearly every office, or every state in the US maintains an Office of Health Access. The first state office of this kind was established in Ohio under the leadership of a Democratic governor and a Republican-led legislature. The Environmental Protection Agency and many federal environmental health statutes, including the Safe Drinking Act and the Disadvantaged Minority Health Improvement Act, were developed and signed into law by Republican administrations. Eliminating this office and delegating responsibility to departments that lack the specialized training or capacity to manage programs that must remain federally compliant is an incredible disservice to the people of New Hampshire. And in the long term, we could lose access to funds that are quite literally life-saving and have a direct impact on the livelihoods and health outcomes of folks here in the Granite State. This bill would also eliminate the office that oversees the state refugee coordinator. This small team services thousands of federally resettled refugees, including Afghan and Iraqi special immigrant visa holders, many of whom cooperated with the US government. Stepping back from my current role, I am a former US diplomat with the Department of State. I was a consular officer, so I adjudicated immigrant and non-immigrant visas, and I participated in evacuation efforts in conflict zones of US citizens and their family members in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. I personally believe that we have a solemn obligation to all federally resettled refugees, especially those who cooperated with the US government at significant risk to themselves and their family. To me, dissolving this office, even if the refugee services function is parceled out to another office in the department, would not only be disruptive to this team's work, but send a clear message to refugees and immigrants that they are not welcome in New Hampshire, despite their many contributions to our state and to our country. And for these reasons, New Hampshire Air urges the committee to vote in expedient to legislate. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions? Seeing none? Thank you, Dylan. Kelly Osborne?
Yeah, that's my real name. Don't worry, I'm the real one.
Good morning and welcome. Your handwriting was much better, I could read. Sorry, Dylan.
Sorry, I tend to do better winging it, so I don't have a printout, but I did type something. So, hello,
I'm here this morning as a voting constituent of the New Hampshire community. I also happen to work at New Hampshire's first CCBHC, which is Certified Community Behavioral Health Center, as an interpreter, a language access coordinator, and a former case manager. And I'm married to a member of the state of New Hampshire DCYF staff. As such, I have a little bit more insights than the average citizen into the laws and inner workings of these systems. While I would love to believe that impassioned testimony and well-reasoned facts will convince this committee that this bill is a bad idea, will overall have a negative effect on the population of the great state of New Hampshire, which is already being referred to as the Florida of New England. After seeing how the state has handled other anti-trans and anti-LGBT bills, I don't have confidence that that will work. Therefore, I would like to speak about something that all state departments and committees do understand, which is the negative fiscal effects and impacts that this bill will have. Based on reports surrounding the 2026 New Hampshire legislative session, there are several fiscal burdens and risks to federal funding and increased costs for administrative burdens that this bill just does not address and kind of seems to hope that people will skip over and not address. These fiscal risks include the risk of losing federal funding, which many people smarter than me, more knowledgeable than me, warn that eliminating the office tasked with addressing health disparities and civil rights compliance could jeopardize federal funding. The Department of Environmental Services has indicated that the bill could potentially jeopardize up to $90 million in federal money contingent on compliance with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Other estimates suggest that a total risk of up to $100 million in federal aid across state departments could be at risk. The costs of dissolution and restructuring. This bill calls for transferring of duties from the Office of Health Equity to other divisions within the Department of Health and Human Services, which could create rather than save administrative costs during the transition. Negligible savings versus high risk. While the bill might save approximately $100,000 in general funds and $69,000 in federal funds by eliminating the Director of Health Equity or Office of Health Access, these savings are minimal compared to the potential loss of the previously mentioned millions in federal funding. The increased liability of potential litigation. By removing specialized offices that ensure compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and other civil rights, this state could face increased litigation costs related to discrimination, lack of access to services, and inadequate language services. The impact on services for vulnerable populations. This bill is viewed as a threat to healthcare access, particularly for Medicaid recipients, 75% of one major agency's clientele, which could lead to greater long-term state healthcare expenditures. The legislation has been characterized by opponents as prioritizing political ideology over fiscal responsibility. And after reading through all of this, I would like to use my work office as an example. For those of you who may not know, there are 10 regional community mental health centers in the state of New Hampshire. Only one of them has a deaf services team. We are statewide. This was decided at its inception because it made more fiscal and resource sense to have one central location to act as a hub for these services. All the CMHCs, community mental health centers, have a state contract to consult with us on best practices for provision of mental and behavioral health services through the use of interpreters if the deaf individuals decide they want to work within their own regional community mental health center rather than have us go to them. However, at the end of the day, most people do not want to use an interpreter. If my coworker, sorry, ignore my voice. This is just me being nervous about talking in front of people.
You're doing a great job. Just keep going.
So if my coworker could have communicated with you directly in a way that was effective, she would have. Most individuals would prefer to work with someone who used their same language. That metaphor applies equally to the Office of Health Access, acting as a central hub for the 11 regional field offices of DHHS across the state of New Hampshire. That $100,000 saved pales in comparison to the cost of hiring and training 11 teams to fill the same role in the 11 district offices. Or, given that I know the New Hampshire system is still running off of a Windows 95 emulator for many of their systems, the added cost and loss of productivity and profit due to a less than effective job of training all of the office staff members and hoping they remember when it comes time to apply the knowledge. And that doesn't even begin to calculate the added costs of defending litigation for failure to provide federally guaranteed language access rights. To help you all conceptualize, language access violation lawsuits in New Hampshire, often stemming from violations of civil rights, can be expensive, with administrative fines for public accommodation violations reaching up to $50,000 each. In addition to potential fines, damages can include legal fees and settlement costs. Non-compliance can result in costly corrective actions, such as training and consultation. Potential costs and penalties in New Hampshire for administrative fines can impose fines of up to $50,000 per violation. So if someone is denied several times, that person could get $50,000 for each time denied. It's not a one-done thing. ADA penalties for violations involving accessibility, which can include communication. Federal penalties can reach $75,000 for a first violation and $150,000 for subsequent ones. Legal fees, including attorney fees for experienced counsel, can range from $500 to $1,000 per hour, which are often paid by the violating party, and court costs, which filing a civil complaint in New Hampshire generally costs $270. So again, all of this pales in comparison to the $100,000 saved. So in case it was not clear, I am opposed, and good luck. Any questions?
Thank you for your testimony. You did a great job. Do we have any questions from the committee?
Well done.
All right. Great job. Thank you. Kathy Stratton. Ben, while Kathy comes up, could you open that window just a little? It's getting incredibly warm in here. Steve, maybe crack that one too, if you don't mind. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my testimony today. My name is Kathy Stratton. I'm the CEO of the New Hampshire Medical Society, and I'm here to testify in opposition to HB 392 today. I'm representing over 2,000 physicians that are members of the Medical Society who greatly value the contributions of this office to ensuring access to health care in both a timely and efficient manner. We appreciate the value of the work in coordinating, collaborating, and reducing barriers to health care. This work is vital to appropriate and timely health care and ensures that patients who are seeing physicians are seen early in the process of illness and receive appropriate and timely mental health care and physical health care. We believe that essential access to these services is vital, and it will address barriers in a more timely and critical way. We ask the committee respectfully to oppose this bill and not to support it moving forward.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Anybody else that wants to testify before I close the hearing?
Can I just make one comment, please?
Really quickly, I'm running very late.
I just want to thank the committee for providing access in this way. I would not have been able to share my testimony with you this morning, and I want to express my appreciation.
Thank you for coming. And the interpreters have done a great job here, so thank you all for that. All right, with that, we're going to close the hearing on House Bill 392. Can you say that was, I know, it kind of snapped.
I knew it. I knew it. Second I did it.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, are you trying to send out a vibration?
I wasn't, I should not, because I snapped it quicker than I realized.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry about that.
Maybe put that down about halfway. Just put that down about halfway. It'll cut the breeze down a little bit.
Oh, no, it feels good.
Just a little, keep the papers from blowing off.
Also, that's a signal that you should end the hearing.
Yes.
Papers blow away. Spirits don't like it.
All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and open the next hearing on House Bill 1193, and I will recognize Representative St. Clair to come up and introduce. Good morning. Welcome to Senate ED&A.
Good morning, and thank you very much. For the record, I'm Charlie St. Clair, representative of District 5 in Laconia. And this bill is, as you know, is all about naming the 911 center for Bruce Cheney. And I'm not going to even touch his history as far as his service after he got out of the Marines. He's done nothing but public service. Every day of it. It's always been about public service for the community and the state. And but this is all about the 911 building. So let me give you as much history as I can, and with the next speaker to follow up on that. 911. A lot of people take this for granted now, but when Bruce was hired to start the system in 1993, it wasn't such a common thing in the state of New Hampshire. And he spent 23 years of his life with the 911. He developed it. He spent the first 2 years going around and visited or had meetings with 232 of the 234 cities and towns in the state to explain it, to get the whole address system thing going. It's amazing how many people at that time did not want an address in front of their house or saw the importance for a name of a road. He also had the first medical emergency call in. So before 911 was started, it didn't concern medical emergencies. He developed that in the state. That was one of the first in the nation to do that. And quickly, I'll say, because you've been here so long, quickly he came in on the budget on this, got it going within 2 years. And from what I've read, this was the first time that had been done in under 5 years nationwide. So he really worked hard at this. And if there's anything that building should be named for, it should be Bruce Cheney. I mean, it's just a hands down thing. You should have received something from the city of Laconia. You did. Okay, beautiful. Really, I don't know what else I could say, senators, but this is really a good thing. And
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate that. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee? Thank you.
I will not take that as a bad thing.
No,
So,
you did a great job.
thank you very much.
Rep. Bogaert? Is he here still? Steve?
No.
No? All right. Mark Doyle? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this morning. And for the record, my name is Mark Doyle. I am the Director of the Division of Emergency Services and Communications with the Department of Safety. And for the record, the Department of Safety stands in support of this bill. The bill honors a public safety leader whose vision and dedication shaped emergency communications in this state for decades. Bruce Cheney initiated and led the development of the state's enhanced 911 emergency service system, as you had heard, beginning in the early 1990s, and had for 23 years until his retirement, really served as the leader and the model developer of the 911 system here in the state, as well as that which has been trying to be imitated across the country. He served as the division director for 23 years and then retired again from his service previously as the Laconia police chief, worked as a Laconia police officer for a number of years, also served the United States military as a Marine, and has a strong, long, honored record of civic service to the state and to the nation. Bruce was integrally involved in expanding and standardizing emergency communications so that anybody that had an emergency could connect to the 911 system through a landline, a mobile device, a voice over IP phone, or any other system that was directly connected to 911 so that emergency services could be efficiently and effectively quickly rendered upon that call. His decades of work reflect a deep commitment to saving lives and improving public safety infrastructure, just not serving only the PSAP, but assisting emergency services across the state. Naming the PSAP, the new one that's being built in Laconia right now, serves as an honor and is an appropriate, meaningful tribute for a number of different reasons, many of which you've already heard from Representative St. Clair. His civic service, his affinity for really continuing to engage the public, staying connected with his local community in Laconia, inspiration for future generations. The folks that will be working there as employees of the Division of Emergency Services and Communications will always know that he was instrumental in bringing that to the forefront and again being a model for the nation. And this recognition highlights to the public the role and value of the public safety answering point itself in New Hampshire and what its role is in terms of emergency communications and emergency services infrastructure. The Department of Safety strongly supports this bill. Naming the Laconia PSAP in honor of Bruce G. Cheney reflects not only the gratitude of his service, but also an enduring commitment to the values of public safety, innovation, and community service that he embodied throughout his career. And again, I just want to ask that you strongly support this bill and pass it as such. And I certainly have an opportunity to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Well, thank you for your testimony. When do you expect the new center to open up?
Thank you for your question. That's a great question. We've got eyes on that. We started construction not quite a year ago. We actually started clearing the land up there in late March. And by all accounts, it's on time. It's on budget, which is always a good thing to say. And it's moving forward so that we should be in that building. We actually have to be in the building and operable by the end of the calendar year this year. We anticipate that we're going to be in part and parcel. Part of our operation will be moved in there from the current facility at the state hospital grounds by late summer, early fall. And the remainder of the move, which will include our data operations center and our actually call-taking data operations center by the end of the fall.
Didn't we do some of that with ARPA funds?
We did.
Yeah,
Almost all of that, if not all of that, is ARPA funded.
Questions? Senator McGill.
Chief, good to see you.
Nice to see you, sir.
My former chief from Merrimack. So welcome. Just a quick question. Will this center expand capacity or does it replace the existing center?
It's going to replace the existing center that we currently house or that we actually work out of. And if you're familiar with the way that the public safety, I call it public safety answering point. It's actually one by design, but two physical locations for redundancy and resiliency in the event that we have a catastrophic event in either one or the other. The other could pick up the call volume without having to worry about drop calls or people not getting the services that they need. Right now, we're still operating two locations, one here in Concord over on Smoky Bear Boulevard, the other in Laconia on the state grounds, the state hospital facility right now, which we have to move because of the development that's going on, which precipitated the move anyway. What we're doing is we're also taking our partners at Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid with us. They actually occupy part of the building that we're in currently, and we're making space accommodating them as well for the move to move over, I say up the street, which is literally about 3/4 of a mile road. So it won't expand the capacity needed for reconciliation of 911 calls, but it'll actually provide a purpose-built facility for the express purposes of rendering emergency communications for 50 plus years down the road.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
Further
you.
questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 1193? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. Is that better?
No shockwaves across the table.
And with that, we will open up the hearing on House Bill 1162 and recognize Representative Selig to introduce.
Thank you, Senator Pearl and committee. So my name for the record is Lauren Selig. For those of you from the Laconia region, I am married into that Selig family, but I was not one by birth. And this is one of two bipartisan bills where I'm the prime sponsor this year. Of the four bills I brought forward. So this is a very, very simple bill. I was very honored a couple of years ago to be appointed to the Holocaust and Genocide Education Commission. This past year, Representative Erica Leon also was appointed to that commission, and Senator Donovan Fenton serves there as well. The work of the commission is simple. The goal is to make sure that students across New Hampshire are being properly educated about the definitions of genocide and the Holocaust, and being given opportunities to do further investigations and questions about that work. The commission is currently in the middle of some really amazing work. We just completed a survey that we got back results from over 80 teachers across the state at the middle and high school levels about what they're currently doing in terms of teaching genocide education, what they feel they're doing well, and where they feel they need support. So that survey has just been completed, the analysis has just been completed, and now our next phase is we're working on developing some new staff development and training and partnerships to help teachers across the state to be able to increase their ability to teach these very difficult topics in a really fair way. You know, not saying that people who commit genocide are good. That would not be how we would want to teach things, obviously, but helping people to understand how genocide is defined, what's the difference between a mass killing and a genocide, which is not always the same. And not that killing is good, just to be very clear. But the work is, we're deep in that work right now. Once the training is designed, we want to be able to present it. And we're working in partnership with the Cohen Institute at Keene State University, and they're one of our major sponsors for a lot of this, and they host our webpage and whatnot. So the bill is simply asking for a 3-year extension of the commission so that we can continue the really valuable work we're doing in conjunction with state education rules and everything else to make sure we're providing the best possible resources for teachers across the state. I'm sure many of you are aware what happened when I presented this bill on the other side, which if you haven't, I invite you to go back and watch the YouTube. I don't want to bring that up, but it clearly demonstrates why it's so crucial that we provide this education to people across the state, not just about the Holocaust, but also about the Rwandan genocide, about what happens in Bosnia, what happened in Armenia, and so forth. It's really important that we make sure people fully understand.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions? Senator Altshuler?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Selig, for bringing this forward and for taking my questions. What kind of education has come out of the program now, the commission? What kind of education have you recommended? And does it all flow through the Cohen Center, or is there, how do we get out to the high schools and the other schools like you were talking about with the survey?
Yes, so thank you so much for the question. So some of the work from the commission has gone to the 306 rules to be incorporated in what's required education for students across the state. What the Cohen Institute has created, among other things, is a library of resources. And based on the survey results we got, where people asked for primary sources that are not just the Holocaust, because a lot of those are readily available, but many people don't know how to access primary sources from the other genocides. We're going to be increasing that library, not just at the Cohen Institute, but just having access, like details on their website so that teachers can reach that. But all of that is sent back to the Department of Education so that the department can distribute it as appropriate. And then the training that the training is happening through the Cohen Institute because they have the physical facility for that. A lot of it's going to be done via Zoom so that people don't need to go there in person. But they're more just sort of like the steering house or wheelhouse for where things will go through just because we need a location. But it's getting distributed statewide, and the partnerships among teachers, the goal is to help facilitate some partnerships among teachers so that if, for example, a teacher in Laconia is like, I'm really strong at teaching about this, but I need some help with that. And we have a teacher in Exeter who's really good at that we can put them together so they can both increase their skills.
Further question? Follow-up? Yep.
So all of that is facilitated through the Cohen Center, or?
So the Cohen Institute hosts the webpage for the commission, and that was determined by Governor Sununu, I think 8 or 9 years ago. I don't know the exact timelines for that. They have people who've given them significant grants so that they can afford to hold all this information somewhere, because there's a lot. And, but all of it, as a commission, we do file annual reports that go back and get sent to the Department of Education to make sure that the 306s are updated appropriately and to make sure the Department of Education and the State Board of Education have that information to continue to distribute to our schools.
Last follow-up. So the commission, the statutory commission operates independently.
Yes, we are a totally
thank you.
independent commission. One of the designees is from the Cohen Institute.
Yeah.
We also have someone who's a direct descendant of a Holocaust survivor. We have another member who himself survived the Rwandan genocide. Representative Leon's family are direct descendants of the Armenian genocide. So we have a variety of different perspectives. We have members from the Council of Churches, from the Teachers Association, from the School Administrators Association, and I forget all the different ones, but it's all listed in the original bill.
Thank you.
Further questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. I hope you pass this quickly.
I suspect if we get through this quickly, we might. Representative Horgan.
Thank you. I'm Representative Timothy Horgan from Stratford County District 10, the town of Durham. The same, my colleague who just testified is not just from the same town as me, but from the same neighborhood. She lives about two blocks from where I do. And so I 100% endorse this bill. This commission has done extremely valuable work. It's so it does need a few extra years to finish the report, and actually probably genocide is a never-ending thing. So perhaps in 2029 we'll want to consider extending its work even more. But definitely it needs at least three more years for its work to come to fruition. So genocide is unfortunately still happening all over the world, but the Holocaust in particular is probably the most horrific and also probably the best documented genocide of all, and also probably for us as Americans. And this bill is about teaching young American citizens. It has probably a special part in American history for various reasons, including the fact that it was like American troops who liberated the concentration camps at the end of World War II. And World War II was 80 years ago, but that's not very long ago. It's still something that all of us, regardless of whether you're alive back then, still remember. So I urge you not just to pass this bill, but to pass it quickly. You notice it has a very high number. That's because that was one of the first new bills introduced in 2026 that actually came to the floor, went through on the consent calendar at, I think, our very first session. So I would certainly like this to go to the floor of the Senate as soon as possible. I suppose, depending on, I suppose it's procedurally possible, you could even do it tomorrow, and I think that would be a very good thing to do. But well, anyway, the next session after tomorrow will be fine. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, pass it as soon as possible, please. Thanks. And
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Yeah. All right, seeing none. Kathy Brunet?
Greetings again. I'll be much shorter than the last time. I'm Kathy Brunet from Durham, New Hampshire. I'm not an expert on the Holocaust or genocide, but I am a citizen and a community member, and I believe that we have a responsibility to remember our history honestly. The Holocaust and other genocides teach us what can happen when prejudice is normalized, when lies replace facts, and when democratic institutions fail to protect vulnerable people. These tragedies began with words and policies long before they escalated into violence. A Holocaust and Genocide Commission, that commission plays an important role in protecting historical truths, ensuring that this history is taught clearly and accurately. This work is not political. It's about education, dignity, and civic responsibility. I support the continuation of this commission and its work. Remembering truthfully is one of the most basic responsibilities we share as citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Clement?
Hello again.
Welcome again.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and member of the committee, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. As I said, I am a refugee from Rwanda. My family directly affected by the genocide that happened in Rwanda in 1994 against the Tutsi. So, and I worked for the organization that I was helping victims of genocide. I saw how important we invest on educating the children, the new generation. If you go to Rwanda today, you will see a big difference. Those who were in Rwanda before genocide, they were telling them that the Tutsi are cockroach or animals. So when we get there, some kids were wondering, asking if you are human like everybody else. But because of education, the Rwanda has completely changed. So it is very important for the kids to learn about the past. When you learn about the past, it helps you to understand the present. So we have so many kids from overseas, like Rwanda, for example. They are children who are victims of genocide. The children who are from the parents who killed the other part. It's not only Rwanda, but in other countries. So it's really important for the people to be educated about the genocide and Holocaust. So I'm here to really support this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you. Anybody else would like to testify on House Bill 1162? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. Take a motion to go into exec. So moved. All in favor? Aye. We have a motion on this last bill we just heard.
Second.
Senator Reardon moves on to pass. Senator Altshuler seconds. Discussion from the committee. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Consent?
Move consent.
Consent's moved. All in favor? Aye. Senator Altshuler would like to take this one up.
Thank you so very, very much.
You're
I
welcome.
really appreciate it, and I'm glad it was a quick hearing.
Ben, let me know when you're ready. I don't want to move too fast. You're right. He is fast. All right. The chair is going to move ITL on House Bill 392. Do we have a second? Seconded by Senator Reardon. I will say that I recognize the intent of the bill, but I feel like that it is going to cause significant harm to those members of our community that need the services that this agency provides, and I don't feel it would be in the best interest of the citizens in New Hampshire to remove the agency. So that's why I moved ITL. Further discussion?
It's the definition of penny wise and pound foolish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And health access is health access.
You're,
Further discussion?
no. all
Seeing
set.
none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Consent, move consent.
Consent has been moved, all in favor?
Aye.
And I will take this one out. House Bill 1193, this is the Bruce Cheney.
Move on to pass on that.
Senator McHugh moves on to pass. I'll second. Discussion. I think it's a great tribute to someone who clearly is important to the community, and I'm glad we're doing this.
Me too.
Can-
Me too.
There was one question that we didn't ask. I do not know him.
Mhm.
And sounds terrific. Wish I had.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Oh yeah,
So-
he ran for mayor actually in Laconia. He
okay.
was the runner up by just a few votes actually in the most recent mayoral election in Laconia.
So he'll get
I
to
believe
go to
that's
his own
correct.
ribbon cutting?
Sorry?
He could, I guess.
Yeah. All right. I was just curious though.
Yeah.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Move consent.
Consent's moved, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I can't. Senator
Sure.
Reardon would like to take it up.
I'd be honored. Thank
All
you.
right. I believe that is all the business we have that we can do. Is that right? We've exec all the bills we heard today, correct?
We did.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion to come out of exec.
So moved.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Soon. I got one thing to tell you.
Okay.
Okay.
We will not be meeting next week. Obviously, we're on break. And we will have a few bills to hear. I'll probably schedule a few bills for 2 weeks. But we have to exec the rest of our FNs the next time we meet, which is 2 weeks, correct? All right, which we only have 2.
Yep.
I have discussed with Senator Rochefort, and I am working on the AI bill, and I don't know if we're gonna have a path forward or not, but still working on it.
And we have 11 public hearings still to do, is that what I'm saying?
I don't know.
here? Or are these scheduled? I'm looking at the House bills.
There's gonna be more continuing to come, I do know that.
Okay.
Oh, they're not all over.
Oh, no, we'll get them all the way to a crossover.
Right. I just, they
Yeah.
seem to be coming
I'm
faster.
I'm
than
not prepared for that
ever
conversation
before.
now. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Never
wrong.
mind.
It'll be,
Nope.
yes.
Thank you.
So I'll review them and we'll get a calendar notification in by next week. All right, with that, we're done for the day. Thank you all.
Thank you. So Ben's the secret to this being so well run.
Ben
Is that what
is
I just heard?
100%.
Yeah, bravo. Nicely done.